People often say that pride goes before a fall, but Samson never believed it. To him, pride was strength, pride was power, and pride was the only way to let people know he was better than them. From the moment he stepped into the busy shop where he worked, his head was always raised high, his chest puffed out like a king among servants. He was just a salesboy, but in his mind, he was the most important person in the whole store. The shop, called Adams Clothing and Wares, was one of the biggest fashion shops in town. The glass doors sparkled, the mannequins wore the latest designs, and people from all walks of life came there to buy. Samson was one of the salesboys employed to welcome customers, guide them around, and help them choose what to buy. It sounded like a humble job, but Samson treated it like a throne. On his first day, when other salesboys were bending down to arrange shoes and folding shirts neatly, Samson had leaned against the counter with a smirk on his face. His boss, Mr. Adams, a man in his late 50s with gray hair and a soft smile, had welcomed him warmly. "Samson," he said kindly, "in this shop, all we ask is that you treat people with respect. Every customer who walks through that door is important. Humility and patience will take you far." Samson had nodded and forced a smile, but deep inside he laughed. Respect? Humility? Those things are for the weak, he thought. I know how to shine. I know how to deal with people. And so it began. Samson's arrogance showed in the smallest things. When a fellow worker greeted him in the morning, he would barely nod, sometimes not even answering. When they asked him to help carry cartons or arrange clothes, he would complain loudly or make excuses, leaving others to do the work. But it was with customers that his arrogance truly showed its ugly face. If a customer came in wearing fine clothes, gold jewelry, or driving a flashy car, Samson would transform into a servant. He would run forward, bow slightly, smile widely, and shower them with attention. "Welcome, sir. Welcome, madam. You are in the right place. Let me show you our best clothes." But if a person walked in wearing slippers, a faded dress, or carrying a nylon bag, his attitude changed completely. He would fold his arms, roll his eyes, and sometimes even hiss loudly. "Can you even afford anything here?" he would mutter, sometimes loud enough for the person to hear. One morning, a woman in her late 40s walked in. She wore an old wrapper and a headscarf, her slippers dusty from walking. She smiled kindly as she admired a beautiful gown. "How much is this one, my son?" she asked Samson politely. Samson gave her a long look from head to toe and burst into laughter. "Madam, this gown costs 35,000 naira. Do you even know what that means? If you don't have money, don't touch what you cannot afford." The woman's smile faded. She dropped the gown slowly and turned to leave, embarrassed. But Anita, another sales worker, quickly ran after her. "Please, Ma, don't mind him," Anita said softly. "You are very welcome here. We have many lovely gowns. If you don't mind, I can show you some that may suit you perfectly." The woman's face brightened again. She followed Anita around, and before long, she pulled out an envelope from her nylon bag. To everyone's surprise, she paid cash for not one, but 3 expensive gowns. She smiled at Anita and said, "Thank you, my daughter. You respected me even when you thought I had nothing. May God bless you. Please, give me your boss's number. I want to tell him how well you treated me." Samson's mouth dropped open. His face burned with shame, but instead of learning a lesson, he told himself, "That woman is just one in a million. Most poor people don't buy. I was still right." But life was waiting to teach Samson a bigger lesson. Weeks passed and Samson's pride grew worse. He insulted his colleagues openly, telling them they were wasting their lives. He called them weaklings for bending to help customers. "Look at me," he boasted one afternoon. "I know how to target big people. That is how to rise in this job. You people will remain small forever." His colleagues shook their heads in silence. They had learned to ignore him. But one day, a group of university students walked in. They were cheerful, laughing amongst themselves. They wore jeans and t-shirts, some with backpacks, looking very ordinary. Samson spotted them and sneered. "Ah, look at these ones. They came here to waste time. They cannot buy anything." The students greeted him politely, but he barely replied. "Please don't scatter the clothes," he said rudely. "If you don't have money, just go to the market." The students felt embarrassed. They turned to leave. But Peter, another salesboy, quickly stopped them. "Please, don't mind him. You are welcome here," Peter said with a smile. He guided them through the store, showed them different styles, and even helped them with sizes. The students laughed and enjoyed themselves, and in the end, they bought clothes worth over 200,000 naira. Samson's jaw dropped again. His arrogance had pushed them away, but Peter's humility had brought in a big sale. Later that evening, Mr. Adams called Samson into his office. "Samson," he said gently but firmly, "I've had too many complaints about your behavior. Customers say you insult them, your colleagues say you look down on them. I brought you here to grow, not to destroy this business. You must change your attitude." But Samson leaned back in his chair with a smirk. "Sir, with all due respect, I am the best salesboy in this shop. I know how to target big people. That is how to rise in this job. You people will remain small forever." Mr. Adams looked at him for a long moment. "Samson, pride goes before destruction. Remember my words. If you don't change, you will regret it." Samson walked out proudly, shaking his head. "The old man doesn't understand business," he muttered. 2 weeks later, the lesson came. It was a busy Saturday morning. The shop was filled with people. The door opened and a man walked in. He wore a simple shirt and trousers, with dusty shoes and an old leather bag slung over his shoulder. Samson saw him and smirked. "Another broke man. I don't have time for this one." He walked up to the man and said loudly, "Sir, please, this shop is not for everybody. The market down the road will suit you better." The man looked at him quietly and asked, "Is this how you treat all your customers?" Samson folded his arms. "I don't waste time on people who can't afford anything here." The man nodded and turned to leave, but just then Mr. Adams entered. The moment he saw the man, Mr. Adams' face lit up. "Chief Dan," Mr. Adams exclaimed, rushing forward. "What an honor to have you here, sir." The shop froze. Everyone stared. Chief Dan was one of the wealthiest men in the state, known for his humility. He often dressed simply, but he was a billionaire who invested in many businesses. Chief Dan shook hands with Mr. Adams and then pointed at Samson. "Is this how your salesboy treats people? He told me to leave because I don't belong here." The shop went silent. Samson's knees trembled. Mr. Adams turned to him, disappointment in his eyes. "Samson, do you see what your pride has done? This is exactly what I warned you about. Chief Dan is not just any man, he is a man of great honor and wealth, yet you looked down on him because of his simple clothes?" Chief Dan sighed. "Young man, let me tell you something. I may dress simply, but my value is not in my clothes. True wealth is humble, but arrogance is worse than poverty. Learning humility or life will teach you the hard way." He shook his head and left the shop. Samson collapsed to his knees. "Sir, please, forgive me. Give me another chance." But Mr. Adams' voice was firm. "Samson, I gave you many chances. You refused to change. You have insulted too many customers and ruined too many opportunities. I cannot allow you to remain here. Pack your things and leave." Samson begged, tears streaming down his face, but it was too late. He was dismissed. At first, he thought he would find another job easily, but the story of his arrogance spread quickly. "Don't employ that boy," people whispered. "He insults customers. He will destroy your business." One shop after another rejected him. His once neat clothes became worn out, his shoes lost their shine. Hunger followed him, and shame became his companion. One evening, as he walked past Adams' Clothing and Wares, he saw through the glass window. The shop was filled with happy customers. Anita and Peter were busy attending to them, smiling and laughing. Mr. Adams stood at the counter, proud of his team. Business was booming. Samson's chest tightened. He stood outside in the shadows, tears rolling down his cheeks. "If only I had listened," he whispered. "If only I had respected people." But life had already taught him the bitter lesson. Pride may make you feel powerful for a moment, but in the end, it leaves you broken and alone. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.